Um, uh, Before I even said a single word, some of you had an opinion about me. Hi, I'm Reyaan Aditya, and the hesitation you just saw was intentional. First impressions last. We heard that sentence so many times that we started treating it like it's a fact. But for the next few minutes, I want you all to challenge it. What was the first thing that came to your mind when you saw me walk from here to here? Perhaps some of you thought, is he prepared? Or maybe you thought, how did they select him to do a talk like this? Or maybe you even thought the next 10 minutes were going to be hell. But let's just do one small thing. Let's separate things from what you saw and what you thought. You saw my hesitation. You saw my nervous body language. You saw that I couldn't have the courage to speak. But inside your head, unprepared, incapable, the wrong person for the stage weren't thoughts. They were judgments. But I don't blame you, because this happens very quickly. In 2006, psychologists Janie Willis and Alexander Todorov found that it takes less than 1/10 of a second to make an impression about someone. So in less than 0.1 second, you can meet someone you've never met in your life and create an impression about them. This just means that impressions have to be quick, not accurate. Let's take an example. Did any of you notice that the sleeve of my left hand is longer than the right one? Well, some of you may have noticed it, many of you probably did not. But now that I pointed it out, you keep noticing it. The sleeve did not become more important. It just became more noticeable. And sometimes that is the exact thing we do to people. Before we go further into this topic, I just want to explain what a binary is. To me, not the textbook definition. To me, a binary is sometimes when our mind makes people easier to understand by putting them into two categories. Strong or weak, intelligent or unintelligent, leader or follower, confident or shy. By putting people into two boxes, it makes our mind easier to understand. First, you notice something about someone. Then, you make a judgment about it. And slowly, the judgment becomes a boundary. And that exactly is what a binary means. And to me, this talk beyond the binary means looking beyond the simple boxes we place people into. That is exactly what my talk is about. What has happened since I walked from here to here can be understood through three very simple words. See, sort, seal. First we see. We see someone's appearance, the way they talk, the way they walk, their weight, their height, and every single thing about them. Then we make a judgment. We think, he's too confident, he's too shy, he's talking way too much, he's talking way too less. And then next, the very important step is we sort. This is important because this is where the binary comes in. Then you put them into two boxes, confident or shy, leader or follower, intelligent or unintelligent. And finally, we sort. In less than 1 second, we put an entire human being into one single box. The problem is that we don't treat this box as a first impression. We treat it as the entire person. And slowly this judgment becomes who we think we're about to be. This is not something I only demonstrated on the stage, but something I've experienced personally. In grade 7, our class had an election for class monitor. Being a class monitor at the time sounded like being the prime minister. But the entire job was just to ask people to stop talking, stop talking. Well, I was the one that was talking the most. But something was different that year. A new student came. He was tall, confident, looked like he walked straight out of a movie. But I wasn't scared. I knew I'd win because I knew these people in my class for a very long time. He just came. But then the votes were counted. He got 20 and I got 3. But when I heard that, I was very angry. I was very mad. I was like, how did they select him? They didn't know what type of leader he was. They didn't know how responsible he was. They didn't even know how he treated people. And at the time, I created my own theory. Just because he seemed tall, handsome, and confident, they put him in the leader box. And they put me in the other one, the follower box. But that was the irony. While I was being mad that they judged my story too quickly, they wrote my story too soon, I was doing the same exact thing to him. I thought since he was confident, he would be difficult to talk to. He's going to be arrogant. But after 5 years of getting to know him, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And every weekend we play cricket, by the way. And I always get his wicket. But that election taught me something. That election taught me that we're all judged, but we're all also judges. It's not a one-way thing, it's also a two-way thing. And underneath all this judgment is something even simpler. Two boxes, strong or weak, intelligent or unintelligent. At the beginning of this talk, you saw my hesitation, you saw my nervous body language, you saw that I couldn't have the courage to speak. But before I even uttered a single word, your mind has already created thoughts. And that is the interesting thing about a first impression. It doesn't have to be accurate, it just has to be quick. Well, I don't want to end this talk by telling what you should think, what you should know. I want to end this talk by giving you a question. When you really meet someone, when you really think you understand someone, are you seeing their one success? Are you seeing their one failure, the one conversation you had with them, their one mark? Or are you simply writing the story too soon? That's all from me tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you.